Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of Payroll and Pastries Crumbs of Wisdom, the interview series. Thank you so much for joining today. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest, Vickie Graham. So I'd love to introduce Vickie Graham.
Thanks, Russell. Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting to you today.
Superb. So the aim of this interview series is to speak to industry experts from around the HR, payroll, finance world, and to fully kind of get to know people and to share some wisdom, share some insights into perhaps career paths in payroll, what people can do to improve their knowledge of the industry, and to just get to know some of the famous figures from around the world. So, as I said, today I'm joined by Vickie. Vickie is from Reward Strategy. So, Vickie, my first question for you is I'd love to know a bit more about your career path. I know you used to work for CIPP, and that's how we met actually. And I'd love to know how you kind of progressed towards the position you're in at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So my career path, I did work for CIPP, Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals. I was there for 21 years, all in all. So yeah, really long time. I started there not straight out of college. I had another role just before that, where actually I was responsible for supporting the temp payroll for a company called Cleanaway, who were contracted by Solihull Council. And my line manager there was one of those people who was always encouraging you to look at what you were going to do next and what your career pathway was going to be, really motivational and inspirational, and encouraged me to look for a career in marketing and PR, recognizing my skills in those areas. And that's where I found the role at IPPM, as it was, so Institute
Yep.
of Payroll and Pensions Management. I joined there as a marketing assistant. There, I worked really closely with the lovely Karen Thompson, who is also a payroll celebrity. And she is an expert in payroll, not myself. I work with lots of experts,
Yeah.
Karen being one of them. And she gave me my passion for the profession and everybody working within it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the members of CIPP, but also the wider community, which helped me progress in my role. And I left there last year. It's been a year now as
Yeah.
business development director. I decided to gain some experience within software actually, and went to work for a software organization for a period of time. For personal reasons, I needed to look for something else, and Luke Broadhurst, the CEO of Reward Strategy, and I had many a conversation, and I just felt aligned with what Reward Strategy is aiming to achieve and how we're supporting people working within payroll and reward, and how we're empowering individuals in senior positions to talk about the strategic impact of payroll and to get that voice around the board table and in the C-suite to demonstrate what payroll can do for their businesses. And I felt really aligned to that. It was really my passion,
Sure.
which is why I joined Reward.
Fantastic. And yeah, no, I've worked. I've like had a lot of interactions with Reward Strategy, and I think it's great what they do. Can you perhaps elaborate on some of the major differences between CRPP and Reward Strategy? I mean, I know obviously, um, CRPP are their one of their primary goals is interpreting the legislation changes from the government, but
Yeah.
they also obviously do a lot of promotion of the industry. Can you elaborate perhaps on the difference with reward strategy and their kind of goals?
Yeah, of course. So CIPP, as you say, very much around educating the profession in compliance and managing payroll, interpreting that legislation and implementing that within organisations. CIPP is the chartered body. There is and always will be a place for that body to represent everyone within the payroll profession. So they are all things to all people payroll. At Reward Strategy, we are around empowering pay and reward professionals who are educated, who are knowledgeable who've reached senior positions within their organisations. So our community is mainly made up of managers, heads of, directors, and C-suite professionals who are having strategic conversations around the impact of pay transparency, for example, and the impact that can have on the organisation. They're looking at forecasting and budgeting in terms of workforce management and the impact that's going to have on the bottom line and making those strategic decisions. So we have 6 core content pillars at Reward. Whilst we recognise legislation is very important, that isn't necessarily one of our content pillars in the same way that it would be at CIPP, and we work closely with CIPP for that content. But we will talk about the risks of non-compliance to businesses, the risks of payroll fraud. We will talk about total reward and the benefit that that can have within organisations. We're looking at the strategic issues and the future planning. So what does the workforce in the next 5 to 10 years look like? And what pay and reward strategies do you need to be implementing now to attract and retain that talent, which is a challenge in itself, because the roles that are going to exist in 5 to 10 years may not exist now.
No, especially with AI and things like that,
Exactly, with AI. So we talk a lot about AI and technology and how to embrace that within your organization, whilst recognizing that there's a real human role to payroll. Yeah. I often talk about the human role to payroll. So
I saw one of your webinars recently. It was really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's about, yes, there's an element of the processing and the technology that can do that side of it for you, that then allows you to look at the trends, analyze, as I said, your workforce management, maybe look at things like your gender, your disability, or your ethnicity, pay gaps, and make recommendations within your organization to positively impact those, and then make a real difference and lead in societal change in terms of the future of work and the future of the workforce.
Excellent. And I don't like to blow my own trumpet or nothing, but I did make your Reward 50 list, your partner 50 list, which I was surprised, but very very grateful and very happy to be recognised there. Certainly something a great moment for me in my career path in payroll.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And you're doing a lot for the profession, which is why you were nominated and ultimately successful. 2026 nominations are open now, so get that one in as well, Russell.
I've submitted mine already.
Excellent. Great, well done.
Thank you. No, so I wanted to, one of the reasons of doing this, I wanted to reach out because in a previous payroll company that I worked for, it was very kind of insular, siloed, and I didn't get a chance to go to the CRPP or any of the other kind of body events. And you tend to not realise that there is a huge payroll world outside of the company that you're working for. So what I wanted to do is try to use this channel to express some kind of ways and information for people who are looking to kind of expand on what they're doing, to progress to new levels, and to understand more about that. What advice would you give for someone, say, who's working in payroll, perhaps it's their second or third job or something, or even their first job, and they're looking to progress up the ladder or into the industry? What kind of advice would you say from your own experience?
Yeah, so I would definitely say learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can. Payroll is a very vast area, and there's lots of different specialisms, lots of different routes and career pathways that you can take, which is amazing. It's what makes it such a wonderful profession, and also a profession for life. You often find once you're in it, and you choose to stay in payroll. I certainly see that. So definitely learn as much and as fast as you can. Your point there about being siloed and not necessarily having the funding to go to industry events, you're not alone in that, unfortunately. So look at other ways to build your network, because our best ideas come from the conversations we have outside of our organisations. And at Reward Strategy, we firmly believe that. So we run things, you mentioned webinar, we run things such as our Payroll and Reward Insight series, which are free to everyone to join. they're different to traditional webinars. They're about building that network. They're about engaging with individuals through an online event. So anybody can participate, anybody can get involved in the discussion and learn from other people's experiences. So I think things like that are really valuable.
Yeah.
And then if you are able to get the funding to attend events, we have things like the Reward and Payroll Summit, which takes place in November this year.
It's like your
And
flagship, isn't it? I think.
it is our flagship event. Yeah, it is. So there'll be around 200 delegates in the room, as well as an intimate exhibition. So we don't have a large exhibition. We have quite a small intimate exhibition of selected organisations that can support people through their careers as well.
I think sometimes smaller crowds means you get a more intimate experience anyway. You're not just you're sitting on the table 3 miles from the from the stage. You know. So
exactly. Yeah.
What can people expect if they come to the rewards summit? Like, is it? I know there's certain awards. There's an award category. It's quite a big list of awards there for people who've achieved certain things throughout the year.
Yeah, that's right. So the summit itself, very much focusing on those strategic conversations that we talked about. So we have our keynote session, which is around getting the budget that you deserve. Often within payroll, we know that there's areas for improvement. We know that there's solutions out there that can drive efficiencies and effectiveness that enables payroll professionals to really focus on some of the areas we've already talked about. So, but quite often, there's a mentality and within senior leadership of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So why should we be investing in those areas? And I think one of the challenges within payroll that I've observed over the years is not always knowing how to position that business case. So we have sessions on that, about building that case for investment. We're also exploring the changing landscape of work. So as I mentioned earlier, how pay and reward professionals are really well positioned to help drive societal change through the influence that they have within their organizations around employee engagement, employee experience, hybrid working versus, and all of those kinds of areas, embracing AI whilst recognizing that human role. So we've got sessions around that, as well as around things like pay equity audits, and pay transparency and inclusive reward design aimed at attracting and retaining that workforce of the future. So those are the kinds of topics that you can expect to hear from. And then we do have the rewards, as you mentioned, which takes place on the evening of the 18th of November, which is the same day as the summit, where we'll be recognising those leaders and individuals, as well as organisations who've really championed payroll as a profession and made an impact in what they're doing within their organisations, but also more widely as well in the workplace.
Fantastic. And my penultimate question, I guess it would be, Annette, before I've got a couple of this or that questions, just a bit of fun. Obviously, we're coming towards the end of National Payroll Week, which is obviously a week to champion the payroll professionals. But I find, what I've been thinking about recently more is that it's an opportunity for payroll professionals to show what they can do to the rest of, to the senior leaders, as you mentioned there a second ago, for them to not be in a position where, as you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, where we're making the lives of our payroll professionals easier. And I think it's that opportunity to champion it that really kind of sticks out for me as a good result of this week, rather than just having a cake in the office and saying it. I think it's really a good opportunity for us to champion the profession there. What have you taken? I know obviously I saw you on Monday at one of the events, and it's been a busy week for most of us. What's been the highlights of your National Payroll Week this year?
Oh, I think one of the highlights of National Payroll Week this year has to be, we did a Payroll and Reward Insight series on Thursday, and it was on the topic, does payroll need a rebrand? And I think that was a real highlight. I was talking to some other leaders within the profession, both in-house in company, as well as suppliers. And the overarching theme and takeaway was, payroll is payroll and we love it, and we don't feel that it needs a rebrand in terms of changing that.
Yeah.
But we do need to champion changing the perception. So you mentioned highlighting the good work that payroll does within organisations and the UK economy overall. I mean, it brings in so much through income tax and national insurance contributions that quite literally keeps the UK running. But what we need to be talking about is, okay, so what? What does that actually mean? What does that mean for your business? What does that mean for your senior leaders who are looking at the impact on the bottom line? And what does that mean for the individuals who are, experiencing their pay, which is so fundamentally important to them each pay period?
Absolutely. Fantastic. I couldn't agree more. Superb. So last but not least, I have a couple of this or that questions. Just to get to know you a little bit better for our audience. So here we go. Are you ready?
Think so.
So, pizza or pasta?
Pizza, but without cheese because I'm dairy intolerant.
Okay, that's interesting. Cats or dogs?
See, I have both, but I
Yeah.
probably lean more toward cats.
Got ya. Netflix and chill or martini and disco dancing?
Martini and disco dancing. Do you know
Absolutely.
me?
Of course. City break or all-inclusive beach resort?
That's a real tough one. All-inclusive beach resort.
Same. I think I'm the same. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Which is because we're just changing now at the moment because the weather's looking a
Yeah.
bit bleak. And last but not least, it's not a list of that question, but if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Any superpower, what would it be? It would probably be super strength. Yeah, super strength, physically and mentally, so that we can carry on championing payroll in every way possible.
I was waiting for it to come back to payroll.
Of course, everything comes back to payroll.
Super, Vickie. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
And
Thank you so much for your really useful insight, and I hope our listeners will certainly take away something from that.
Great, thanks, Russell.
Thanks so much, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.